Hey, what's up, you guys? This is WD3, and this is your Hill Report News Break. This is a special Dateline edition of the News Break. Today, I'm going to be talking about a story that I've been working on for a very long time. Ever since I heard of the death of this elderly lady, Mrs. Smith, it broke my heart because I was actually able to be privy to hearing a confession from the caregiver who I believe, and we hope the evidence comes out, that may have caused Mrs. Smith's death. Miss Smith was a Woodland Hills elderly woman, very accomplished. She hired a caregiver, her and her husband, William Smith, and she ended up losing her life. I will read the story to you. Um, this is the story here. This is our monster here, right here in Palmdale. Folks who abuse elderly folks are monsters. I'll read the story here we've been working on. This is in this edition of the Hill Report. Definitely, we want to bring justice to the elderly. We don't want anyone to get away with foul play, and people's parents and their family is very important throughout their life. They should be cherished once they get in their elder years. We'll read the story here. Uh, as the headline is Elderly Death Linked to Violent Predator. That's right, elderly death linked to violent predator. I'll read it. If you guys have the Hill Report, if you got it at your house, or if you're on our website, you can read the story on the link. Convicted violent offender Darlene Hill, 55, of Palmdale. As William Smith awoke in fall of 2023, little did he know that his wife of decades would be dead. The elderly man had no idea that his wife was given a lethal dose of morphine that night. That's right, which their living caregiver, Darlene Hill, admitted to administering. Darlene was prohibited from providing care by the state of California before she conned the Smiths into hiring her. Darlene has a history of violence and elderly abuse, recently convicted of assault on her sister and elderly mother. That's terrible. And close sources confirm another recent pending assault charge stemming from a violent attack on her elderly husband and his son. I have inside knowledge on that incident. One incident involved choking, kicking in the face, and pulling a knife at her 79-year-old husband. Darlene Hill lives in East Palmdale and is considered dangerous. I went to confront, I told you I've been working on this story. I went to go confront Darlene and ask her point blank, will she stand behind what she said before? She said that the the lady, Mrs. Smith, was really irritating her, getting on her nerves, and she gave her morphine, and she was dead. Uh, this is something that happened, needs to be investigated. I went myself to try to get some answers, and look what I was met with. I have a guy that's at my door trying to get into my house. We told him he cannot stay here, but yet he keeps coming over here, harassing my husband. His name is Willie Jr., Willie Hill Jr. He has no permission to be over here. We told him he has to go, and he said he's coming over here, harassing my husband. 371021. When we're trying to get, you're watching the Hill Report News Break. This is WD3, your Hill Report News Break, a special Dateline edition. When you're trying to get justice for the elderly, this is not an isolated incident. In the background of fires, in the background of hurricanes, there are still people, elderly people, who depend on other people for their care, and they do not deserve to be abused and mistreated. These people have family, and people's family is fighting back. Let's see some other examples of this monstrous behavior.
For to place him in a long-term care center where professionals could give him 24-hour attention.
And that's what breaks my heart, because I really can't have him at home.
She also installed a Ring camera in her dad's room with their permission to give her peace of mind, which makes this video of a healthcare worker apparently twisting her dad's arm while he lay bedridden so hard to watch.
I was devastated. I felt like I failed him.
The worker had been drawing her dad's blood and struggled with her dad to put on a Band-Aid. Moments later, he appears to pin her dad's arm and finishes the job with what looks like a good twist. And that's not all. Appearing to notice that Ring camera, the worker seems to experience an attitude adjustment, suddenly demonstrating for the camera just how caring he could be.
It broke my heart, and that's unacceptable.
Turns out that worker is a man named Rafael Manchego, not an employee at the nursing home, but a mobile phlebotomist with AccuLabs, brought in to draw blood. In a statement, the nursing home called safety their utmost priority and told us Manchego is no longer allowed to provide services or enter the building. Manchego was also fired by his employer, who said they take all allegations regarding patient care seriously. We couldn't find Manchego at his home, but we did reach him by phone.
I don't have nothing to hide, okay?
And Manchego asked us to speak with his attorney, Jordan Goldsmith.
Is there ever an excuse to treat an elderly patient that way?
His position is that he was following proper protocol.
Including twisting the patient's arm?
Well, Mr. Manchenko has provided statements on his actions. He's been apologetic. He's indicated that perhaps he was unnecessarily rough with the patient. Under no circumstances he believed, and the evidence does not support, that he was abusive to this patient.
But he agrees he was rough.
He agrees, and he has admitted and that he was perhaps a little rough, and he's apologized as much.
While Maria appreciates the apology, she wonders what might have happened if she hadn't installed that camera.
Not just for my father, but for any elderly person. You're trusting that the care is just as good as you were at home.
Manchego is scheduled to appear in court later this.
So many instances of elderly abuse goes unchecked, unnoticed. If these people didn't have cameras set up, who's to say that their story would ever get out? But the Smiths, they did not have a camera. They trusted this lady. And Mrs. Smith ultimately lost her life. Now, they did get rid of the caregiver, but we in the community are turning up the pressure. We want an investigation in this case. William Smith and his wife, Mrs. Smith. Tell you the truth, I don't even know if Mr. Smith is still alive. He was, this was a couple years ago, back in 2023, when he lost his wife. Very tragic story. There's other instances, and I'll tell you what, if you guys are also interested in getting justice, pursue these cases. I'll show you some more, and I want you all to have a great day. This is WD3, your Hill Report News Break. Guys, the abuse of the elderly must stop. Families need to step up and say enough is enough. This stops today. It's your Hill Report News Break. This is WD3. Let's get into this last clip, and I want you all to have a great day.
These are bruises on Cheryl Doe, a 79-year-old former patient at Windsor Healthcare Center of Oakland. She and her son Robert allege the injuries are a result of a sexual assault that was swept under the rug. Robert says he admitted her here with hopes to keep her safe as she battles Alzheimer's and dementia. But he says the real battle happened inside the facility.
The first time was a rape assault, and I didn't find out until 2 days later after it initially happened.
This is the voice of Cheryl's son, Robert, who was kept anonymous to protect his family's privacy. Robert says his mom was raped by another resident living in the facility in August last year. He says a certified nursing assistant told him, not management.
She said, your mom's been getting raped in this facility, and they know about it, and they chose not to tell you.
According to the complaint, a CNA and a charge nurse knew about the alleged assault, but nothing was done. The complaint also says the facility denied it, but later acknowledged an employee witnessed it happen. Robert says several days after the first incident, the man was able to get back into her room and attack again.
She retaliated against my mom and hurt her again, and she went and told one of the nurses. One of the nurses called me again and said, your mom's going back to the hospital. He hit her, he beat her, from bruises all over her arm and scrape marks on her knee.
Attorney Ed Dudensing is a former deputy DA who is representing Cheryl and Robert. He says they're still in the preliminary stages of their investigation.
How many people at this facility do you think were aware that this was going on?
A lot of them.
The complaint specifies two. Legal documents indicate after Cheryl was allegedly raped twice, there was a notation of it made on her medical chart days later. The I-team spoke to an employee working at the facility during that time.
One of my colleagues walked in on the assault. She saw the man on top of her. The other employees were trying to sweep it under the rug. I encouraged her to tell Robert.
For the past several weeks, the I-team has made efforts to get comment from Windsor Healthcare Center of Oakland, but haven't heard back. It's part of a chain of skilled nursing facilities operated by Brius Management Company, among other affiliates.
And they have, a history of failures of care that it not only involves resident-on-resident abuse like this case, but other areas of neglect as well.
In 2018, the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services fined the facility for failing to be in compliance with Medicare requirements and determined its deficiencies caused actual harm to one of its residents.
We know that these nursing home operators, especially the large ones like the one that's involved here, that they respond to their pocketbook. And so we try to hold them accountable in that way.
According to the complaint, numerous red flags put the corporate defendants on notice of serious problems at their facilities, including Windsor Healthcare. Brius facilities have been the target of multiple civil lawsuits as well as state regulatory actions arising from resident injuries, sexual assaults, felony abuse, and resident deaths resulting from their deliberate and habitual understaffing of facilities and abject failures to ensure resident safety.
Often it's because of lack of staffing.
The complaint also says the defendants knew Windsor Healthcare was troubled, but kept admitting new residents without increasing staffing and hid the problems from prospective families, including Cheryl's.
She's an elderly woman. She doesn't deserve to be done like that.